Hey, what's up? So have you ever known somebody that was no chance you would ever get to date them? They were way out of your league. You're like, oh yeah, okay. I know that exact feeling. There was this particular girl that I had a pretty big crush on in high school. She was very pretty. She was a varsity cheerleader. She was very popular. And then there's me, right? I was a band nerd and a dork and yeah, all that. And so I was like, there's just no chance this is ever going to happen. But, I still had my crush and all that. Well, one night I'm at home and I get a phone call from my best friend. And my best friend happened to be friends with this girl. And so she says to me, are you going to the Christmas dance? And I was like, well, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. And she goes, and the cheerleader girl, her name's Kristen, okay? And she says, well, Kristen wants you to ask her to the dance. And I was like, you mean me? Are you sure you called the right person right now? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I'm sure. You need to ask her to the dance. And I'm like, you're messing with me, right? This is a big joke, right? And so, no, you need to call her. So I'm like, okay. And she goes, now I'm nervous, right? Because I have no business calling this girl. And I had this terrible feeling that she was pranking me. Could you imagine calling me hey, you want to go to the Christmas dance? You? No, that's what I was imagining. But I called, she said yes. And so then we decided we went, a couple of us, there was two couples, we went out to eat. We went to the Christmas dance. And afterwards, I'm driving her home, and she's like, hey, do you want to come in for a while, maybe watch a movie or something? And I'm like, okay, this sounds good. So we go, and in her house, in the living room, okay, we didn't go in her bedroom, that's stupid, okay. We went in the living room, and we're sitting there, and her little sister comes in, Hayden, and she's like, Hayden, don't you have something else to do? And she's like, no. He's like, I'm pretty sure you do. Nope. And so she's hanging out with us until finally her mom comes in and is like, Hayden, go to bed. And so now we're hanging out. We're in the living room, and it's getting late. And I'm like, okay, does she like me? What's going on? I'm trying to figure out. Because just because we went to a dance together doesn't mean this is going anywhere. I didn't know. I'm shy and nervous. And so and I do the whole right? And I put my arm around her. She says I'm too nervous to actually let my arm touch her. So I put it on the couch behind her. And she didn't get up and move. This is a good sign, So slowly I kind of end up with my arm around her. And so we're sitting there, we're watching some movie. And then I hear a door open. And it's around the corner, I can't see, and in walks her dad. I've never met her dad, didn't know her dad. He is 6 foot something, I'm not sure. He was super tall. He looked like he worked out every day of his life. He is wearing his SWAT team uniform, because he's on the SWAT team, didn't know that. His gun, taser, everything. And he looks right at me with my arm around his daughter, who he's never met before. And I go, hello, sir. And this is exactly what he said to me. Ugh. And then he walked out of the room. It was much lower. Mine's kind of girly, but his was like, ooh, okay. He made this grunt. That's all he did was grunt. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore tonight. And we got a little more space and we finished the movie. But here's the thing. If you've maybe noticed this, dating can be complicated. Guys, sometimes there are scary dads, okay? I'm hopefully going to be that guy. I'm going to have to buy a shotgun. I'm going to buy a shotgun just for when Emery starts dating. I'm going to be cleaning it, And so that'll be, y'all laughed way too hard at me being scary. Okay, I'm gonna have to work on that apparently. There's all kinds of complications that can't come along. Sometimes you just don't know what you're supposed to do. Sometimes you can't tell what the other person's thinking, and they don't like to tell you, and they make it hard for you to know. Guys are supposed to figure out if the girl likes him, and they don't give you any clues usually, right? And there's all this kind of stuff that goes on, and sometimes it can be a lot of fun. A lot of times it ends up being really painful, and a lot of times people get a lot of hurts, and so that's why we're talking about it, because I want to help you avoid the hurts of dating and the hurts of bad relationships and all of the complications that can be. So we've been talking about relationships for a couple weeks, and we're keeping going for this one and next one. And so we started last week with this definition of dating. And so I'm going to go ahead and revisit that and talk some more about dating. Okay, so dating is this. It is the process of evaluating whether or not we are meant to marry a particular person. So you start dating somebody and you're evaluating, hey, is this somebody I want to stay with? Is this somebody I want to spend maybe the rest of my life with, or is it not? And so we're evaluating whether this is the person I want to spend my life with. And I'm not going to go into what we did last week. We talked a whole lot about this person, like what would this person be like? And it's not like you need to get a list like, okay, they need to have this color hair and be this tall and this skinny and da-da-da. And you get this whole list of stuff and you go around looking like, do you match? No. Do you match? No. That's not it, okay? But instead, we talked about two kind of qualities, and I'm just going to show you what those were in case you missed last week. We said solid godly character and fun, easy chemistry. Solid godly character. That means, if you're going after Jesus with all your heart, you want to be going along in life with somebody else that's doing the same thing. So we want somebody with solid godly character that is pursuing God just like you are. And then fun, easy chemistry. That means it's fun to be around, okay? They're easy to talk to. I'll never forget this phone call I got in the church one day. I answered the phone, and this person said, hi, I was wanting to know if y'all do counseling, couples counseling for people who are dating. And I was a little confused. I said, could you give me some more information? It's like, well, we've been dating for a while, and we fight a lot, and we don't get along. And so we're trying to make it work. And we were seeing if y'all gave counseling for that. Now, I'm sitting here in my head going, yeah, break up. Like, you don't seem to understand. You date to see if you should be together. If you're fighting now, like, you need to find somebody. Okay, so, but I didn't tell that. Anyways, so we don't really understand this. And this is what drew me to Tracy, okay, my wife. She had amazing character. She loved the Lord and pursued God, right? That was number one, right? Number two, she was really pretty, okay? and number three, it was just fun to be around her. We could just sit and talk. It was easy. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't a struggle. And so what I want the image for you to be, if you could just maybe picture life and relationships like this, like if life was a race, and again, I don't really like races, but we'll just go with that. If life was a race and you were running it, and here's my annoying little run I'm doing on stage, and you're running your race, okay? You're going to meet people that are going in different directions than you. Some going the opposite, most going in just different directions, and I'm not going to link my life with any of them, whether there's difference here or here. I'm not going to link my life with them because they're going to be going a different way. I'm not going to be happy, and they're not going to be happy. But as you're running this race, you're going to find people that are running along with you. And you're going to look over and you're going to see somebody else, in fact, probably many someone else's that love Jesus, and they're pursuing him. And then you're going to be like, hey, let's find out if we have chemistry and if their character really is what it looks like it is. And here's the great thing that happens. When you find someone and you do this process right and you end up in marriage with the right person, you join hands, you join in a lifelong journey, and now you're running together. And when you have a weak time, they're strengthening you and pulling you. And when they get weak, you're pulling them and you're going together, and it's an incredible journey. But we have to do this part right, the dating part right. So we're talking about dating as the process of evaluating. So today I want to talk more about the process. And I've had a really, really hard time with this because I really need about 3 hours to explain, and I've got 18 minutes, okay? And so we're going to do the best that we can, and I'm going to use this board to help me do this. So I want to talk about some of the normal steps that kind of happen for most people in relationships. This is not the only process. This is just a very common one that you will probably experience. So, and these are just different kinds of relationships that you will see, that you'll experience. So you're going to start... I'm going to start with this, friends, okay? You're going to be friends with some people, and you kind of understand that. Then we're going to have dating. And if I misspell something, just laugh, okay? All right, dating, okay? And then I'm just going to abbreviate here, boyfriend and girlfriend, okay? And I would probably, if I was writing it out, I'd call this kind of exclusive dating. And some of you are like, oh, isn't that the same thing? We'll get there, okay? And then there would be engaged. Okay, and then we're going to have married. Hey, I made it fit. Okay. All right. Now, I want to just kind of make a couple of quick observations. Number one, everything on this side is evaluating. Okay. Now, once you're married, there's no more evaluating. That's forever. Right? This is a commitment. There's a lot of smiles. Did I misspell something? No? Okay. All right, good. Just people are weird at me. I always misspell something. It's a bad thing. Okay. Anyways, this is a commitment. This is actually a covenant between you, that person, and God. Okay, this is no more evaluating. This is supposed to be for life. But everything before here is. Now, we could make a little bit of a distinction here in that, okay, this is kind of really made. This is created. This is the process that is supposed to drive towards marriage, okay? This is that evaluating process that we're talking about. But I would want to point out that it actually even starts here. See, think about this. Guys, you are going to be friends with a lot of girls in your lifetime. Girls, you will be friends with a lot of guys in your lifetime, but you're not going to date them all, hopefully, right? You're not going to date every person that you meet of the opposite sex. That's not going to happen. Now, there will be some of them that you wish you could date, but don't get to, right? And then there will be some of them that you absolutely do not want to date, right? And there's a great example of the fact that you already evaluate, don't you? Like we already have an evaluation. There are some people, if they came up to you and said, will you go out with me? You'd be like, no, okay? Because you've already evaluated. You're not going beyond friend, okay? That is as far as it's going to go because there's some evaluating. We understand evaluating, getting to here. For some reason, a lot of times we stop in this area. But I want to make a point to you real quick that evaluating here is really important because the further you go this way in the process, when a breakup happens, the more heartbreak, the more damage, and ultimately, a lot of times, the more regret that there is in the process. And so if you can do good evaluating early, you save yourself and them a lot of pain. So when I was in college, my best friend, who was my roommate, he found out that this girl who was the prettiest girl we knew in college liked him. And he knew because she told him, right? Which never happens. Like girls never just like, I like you, will you ask me out? But that's what she basically said. I like you, will you ask me out? And so this was an interesting, exciting time, but there was kind of an issue. See, my friend, he was a Christian guy, is a Christian guy, and he was serving God. He helped me lead a Bible study on campus. He also had, some things that he did different in his life because of that. We didn't drink and party and do that stuff. We did other things. And she, however, while she may have called herself a Christian, there wasn't any evidence of that, okay? There wasn't godly character to go along with that. And she did drink and did do all that. It was just a different lifestyle. And he was looking at that, and I remember sitting in a room with him, and we're talking, and he goes, this is so hard. Because all of me wants to just go, yes, we are going to date because she's so pretty and she's so good looking. But I also know that her life is going in a different way than me. And I watched him battle. In fact, I even said to him, I am so glad I'm not you because I don't know that I would be making the right choice here. It was really hard for him. But what he was doing, it was before he stepped into this, he was evaluating and going, you know what? I know ultimately this isn't going to go anywhere. Now, I don't know what would have happened. I can tell you that he did not date her. He talked to her some more about the issues, and she realized that she was not going to quit doing those things or change, and so they just didn't date. But if he would have done what so many people do, well, they're hot, I'm going to date them. Then I just think about all the problems that it could have caused. First of all, do you know how hard it is to stay pure when the other person that you are with does not want to stay pure? Now, I don't know about her whole thing on that, but that is extremely difficult. It's hard enough when both of you are pursuing purity, but one is not. And then here's the other interesting thing, okay? This was our senior year that this whole thing happened. A month after we graduated, now, he met this other girl. Now, if he would have been in a relationship, nothing would have happened there. But he met this other girl. He was single still because he didn't start dating this one, and that was the girl that he married. Now, that was instant change and seeing that, but how different would his life have been? He's been married now for over 10 years and has 2 kids, okay? And so how does, it happened because he did the evaluating process. So we have to see that even starts here. So I wanted to bring that up because, if you can do a lot of evaluating here, that will help. So then we've got another thing, okay? Let's move on to dating. Dating, you're like, yes, finally, talk about that. Dating. Now, some of you are maybe confused at what's the difference here. So let me just give you an example of what this is and how it's different, because that's the best way I know how to share it. When I was in college, there was this, I have a lot of dating stories, sorry. There was a girl that I met, she was in band, I was in band, and I thought she was cute. She was a couple grades younger than me, and we weren't really in the same friend group, so we didn't hang out enough for me to get to know her, right? So we didn't just talk all that much. But I knew that she was cute. I knew that she was a Christian. I had heard that. And I knew she was kind of funny because we'd been at water breaks and stuff in band. And so I wanted to get to know her. I wanted to see, is this somebody I'd be interested in? So I finally got the nerve to call her. It took me like 15 minutes to actually hit send, right? Like hit call. I was like I got really nervous. I was just really bad at this whole thing. But anyways, I finally called her. I asked her on a date. She said she was busy. But she wanted me to call her back and ask again. And so I did. I called her back the next week, and she said yes. We went on a date, and it was fun. And I thought, that was fun. Let's ask her again. And so I said, hey, let's go out again sometime. We went out again, went on another date. And I remember after I got done with that date, it was a little longer. We talked a lot more and all that. I went back to my apartment, and I was just sitting there. I was like, I was kind of bored. Like, nothing against her, but her life and my life were just different. We just didn't get along. I mean, we got along, but we didn't have chemistry, right? And you know what, if you've ever experienced that. And so you know what happened? We didn't go out anymore. There was no heartbreak. There was no problems. We weren't committed to each other. We were just two people that were, intentionally evaluating whether this is something that's going to go any even further. That's what it was. It was a process where we were just looking at this going, hey, am I going to go any further in this? Now, here's kind of thing that gets kind of complicated. What do I do if a friend asks me out and I don't want to date him? In fact, I think I put that question up here. What do I do if a friend asks you out and you don't like him? Have you ever had that happen? Okay, so I want to help you know what to do. And I'm going to show you a couple of verses that are going to give us a principle that we're going to use the rest of the night. And it's a principle that you can use in every relationship that you ever have, not just dating, but with every friendship, every relationship. It is a life principle that we all need to know to make relationships better. I'm going to start with this verse, and it'll help us. So a friend asks you out, and you don't like him. Okay, here we go. Do not lie to each other. Colossians 3:9. Here's the start. Okay. Hey, will you go out with me? Don't lie to him. Don't lie to him. No, I think you're ugly. Okay. Probably not the right thing to say, right? Yeah, you kind of remind me of my pit bull. Okay, that's probably not the right thing to say. So, okay, we got to be honest, but does that sound like what we should do? No. So we're going to go a little bit further. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15. But speaking the truth in love. Say truth. And say love. Love. All right. Let us grow in every way into him who is the head, Christ. And notice when we start doing this, we grow more like Christ. And this is what he says. Speak the truth in love. So I want to put it like this. Honesty and love is something that is so important in every friendship, relationship that you have. So somebody asks you out that you don't want to be with. Honesty and love. Honesty and love. So it may be something like this. Hey, I really like being your friend, but I don't see us dating like that. You're like, ooh, that sounds so harsh, right? Ooh, that sounds... Now, here's the thing. And I actually had a friend one time that went and asked a girl out. He finally got the nerve up. Hey, do you want to go to the movie with me? And she was like, hey, we're friends, but I don't want to date you. And he came back and told everybody, and I was like, ooh, man, that stinks. He was like, you know what? Actually, I feel relieved. I mean, disappointed, but I'm glad that she was just honest with me and told me, so now I don't have to wonder and wonder what's going on. In fact, Solomon, who wrote a lot in the Old Testament, he said this about it. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. And you may be thinking, I'd rather just have the kiss on the lips. Okay, I don't know. But here's what he says. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. What does that mean? It's refreshing. It's a good thing. We need honesty in relationships. So in all of those situations, you're going to find this comes up a lot. Honesty and love is important. So somebody asks you out and you don't like them. Honesty and love. Honesty and love. Okay, so we have dating, and that's that intentional kind of like, hey, let's get to know you a little bit better and that kind of thing. And then we have this exclusive dating, boyfriend, girlfriend. Typically, okay, when you're older, like in college, people always do this first. Like nobody ever meets someone they don't know and says, hey, will you go out with me in college? That's just weird. They do it in high school and junior high. I just want you to know when you're older, you'll grow up out of that and you won't do that anymore because you don't get exclusive with somebody that you don't know. Okay, so this is what it usually goes something like this when you're older. Hey, I really enjoy spending time with you. I really like you, and I don't want to date anybody else. Or, hey, will you be my girlfriend? Will you be my boyfriend? That kind of stuff is normal too. And so there's this thing, and what it is it's more of a commitment to each other, right? Now, you probably know this already, but it's like this. It's like, hey, I am going to stop looking at other people and focus on you. That's what this is. This is what we're saying to the person when we ask them to be exclusive, to be boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm not going to be, if somebody else comes along that I find cuter than you, I'm not going to be like, bye-bye, because I am now focused on you. Now, we're still evaluating. You need to understand that. Because there may be a point in this relationship where you go, uh-oh, this is not the person I want to be with. And that doesn't mean you're not going to end that relationship, okay, at some point. But it means you're not looking elsewhere. And the truth is, though, a lot of people, they say these things. They'll say, I love you, but they don't mean it. And I wish I could say that I always did this right. When I was younger and stupid, I didn't. And I'm not pleased with it, but I remember very specifically asking a girl to be my girlfriend. She said yes. You know, I was saying all the things, you know, like I love you, you're the only one for me, you're beautiful, all the things, okay? I was sweet, all that. And then I remember finding out that this other girl liked me. And then I was trying to figure out, how do I break up with her so that I could be, and some of you are thinking, you're an awful person, right? But that's what so many people do. So why are we saying, I'm committed to you, when we're not? We shouldn't. Because honesty and love are the key to good relationships. And that's not being honest. So this brings up possibly a lot of things, but I want to just make this point, and hopefully that you understand it. Don't commit to someone you don't know. You don't say yes to this to somebody you don't know. Now, I wouldn't think I would have to say that, but I do, because it happens all the time. In fact, one time I was talking to someone, they were talking to their friends, and I heard they had a new boyfriend. It was a girl. And I said, oh, you have a new boyfriend? She goes, yeah, he's really sweet and everything. I said, oh, that's awesome. Where does he go to church? And she goes, I don't know. And now, this was not a pastor gotcha, like, nah, you don't know where he goes to church. That's not what it was at all, okay? It was not a pastor gotcha. It was just a curious, I thought, surely she'll know. And she goes, I don't know. And so this is in my head, okay? I didn't say this out loud. I'm thinking, wait a minute. So you have committed to being with this person and not anybody else, and you don't even know if or where they go to church. Like, isn't that a foundational kind of, like, you really don't, and it's amazing how often I see people get in relationships, they don't know anything about them. They're cute though, right? They're sweet, they're funny and cute. Like, okay, but before you commit to someone, can you maybe at least kind of like agree you should know something about the person? Because if you commit to someone and you don't know those things, let me tell you what you're doing. You are lying to them. You are not being honest. You're into some insecurity thing where I have to wrap them up so nobody else gets them in their mind unless I change my mind, right? But by the way, that's the same thing they're doing if y'all don't really know each other, okay? So that brings up some more questions I want to help you answer, and that is maybe this one. What if somebody asks me out and I'm not sure? So, this person comes up and they ask me to be their boyfriend, be their girlfriend. Like, they don't know this message about knowing each other first. Or maybe we do know each other, but I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet, like commit yet. What do I say? What do I do? Okay, and now it's going to go back to the same thing, honesty and love. You're going to be honest in a loving way. And it may be just something like this. Guys, if a girl says that to you, when you go out with me, sometimes girls do ask, just say something like this. Well, listen, I think you're really pretty. Oh, today she's really going to like it. She's good with you now, okay? But I want to get to know you a little first. You think maybe we could go out to eat sometime? Now, see, what you're doing is you're giving them, you're letting them know I like you, right? But I'm not ready to do this. Maybe this, okay? I want to get to know you a little bit. But I'm not going to say that you're my girlfriend and I'm not looking at anybody else and I don't know who you are. That doesn't even make sense, okay? So you're being honest but loving. Now, guys, same thing. Or girls, same thing. A guy asks you, and you don't know. We probably don't tell him that he's pretty. That would be weird. You're so pretty, but I don't want to be. No, you tell him, hey, I think I might like you, but can we do something first? Maybe we could go out to eat. Maybe we could do this. There's this, come to the football game or whatever's coming up. Just ask about a time to be together and get to know each other. Does this kind of make sense? Okay, here's another great question. What if I'm dating someone and realize we aren't right for each other? If you date, when you date, the odds are that you will experience this many times. Okay, because most relationships don't make it to marriage because there's the evaluation process, so you got to know what to do. And, well, it's going to come back down to honesty and love. And I really could probably spend a lot of time on this, but let me just do it like this. Number one, you realize it's not the right person. Don't break up that just on a whim. You need to think about it. You need to pray about it at least a night or two because you've been committed to this person and you don't want to break up on an emotional blah. Okay, you want to be sure because it's not right to go back and forth. You want to be sure. But then when you do, you want to be loving and clear. Hey, I really have enjoyed our time together, but we're going to have to break up. Oh, that sounds so mean. They're going to cry. Probably. okay? A lot of times they do, and it's really awful in the moment. But you know what's way more awful? Stringing them on for a long time. Letting this relationship progress further and further this way. So you just, I wasn't strong enough to just do what needed to be done. Or even also very bad, like, well, let's just take a break. We're gonna maybe, oh, some of you are like, oh no, I did that. I know I did it too, okay? Maybe someday, maybe, and you know inside you don't ever want to. And so all you've done for them is created this hope that's never happening. And hope deferred makes the heart sick. You just crush, you're just dragging. They need that break. And that's love, and that's being honest. And that's what we should do in those situations. So I want to give you 2 more thoughts about relationships, and then we'll be done for tonight. When you date somebody, so in this, that's talking about in here. When you date someone, don't obsess about getting them to like you. Get to know them, share who you are, evaluate if the 2 of you are a fit. Don't obsess about getting them to like you. See, there's this thing, now I'm not saying don't dress nice. Guys, wear cologne and put on deodorant. Okay, that's good, okay? Guys, be nice, open the door, okay? Did you know, guys, that when you're walking down the sidewalk that you're supposed to walk on the side where the cars are? That way if a car swerves off, you take the car and you push her out of the way. That's actually the way it's supposed to be etiquette, okay? But like open the doors, guys, pay for the food, do the nice things. Girls, dress nice, that's all fine, okay? Be sweet to each other, that's all good. But what I'm saying is we get real obsessed about, I've got to convince them to like me, da-da-da. Here's what dating is for. You want to get to know the real them, don't you? Do you want to get to know a fake them that's going to be different once you've been with them for a while, or get to know the real them? And they want to get to know the real you. So share who you really are. Be the real you. And then evaluate if you're a fit. And we put a lot of pressure on this and all of that, but listen, if you walk into it knowing this, that the purpose of dating is evaluating for marriage, it's an evaluation process. When you realize that it's not it's not as hard to end it and to move on the way you're supposed to. And at some point, you are probably gonna find that person that is a fit. Probably not anytime soon, by the way, but just at some point, you're like, oh, at some point, that's gonna happen. But it is a time, it is so important that we remember this, okay? Because when we treat this like a phase to stay in, this is when you get in trouble. See, this is meant to drive you to here. Tracy and I were friends for a very, very long time. Very long time. And when we started dating, I knew where it was going. I mean, I knew. We dated and did this part here for about 6 months. We did this for 6 months, and then we were married. You're like, what? Yeah. And I'll tell you why. I'm not telling you need to do that. I'm just telling you what we did. But here's the reason. When you start into this, something comes alive inside of you. Passion is what the Bible calls it, okay? And if you're not careful, that could turn into lust. And we're going to talk a lot about that next week. Boy, that rain's coming, isn't it? Okay, we're talking about that next week, okay, if you were kind of curious about that. But here's the thing. That passion is meant to drive you to here. But when people just sit here for a long time, you know what happens? They start having those things, oh, we're struggling so hard. It's so hard to stay pure. It's so hard to follow God. Why? Because you weren't meant to stay in that for a long time. Now, that might mean in your stage of life that you already know you're not ready for that one, right? Maybe you need to evaluate yourself and where you are ready for in your stage of life. Now, I'm not telling you need to break up, you need to not be in a relationship. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just wanting you to think through these things and to be intentional about dating and not just let it be something that just happens to you, but something that you do, because if you are intentional, it can be good things. Here's the last thing. When it comes to honesty and love, don't you hope that the person that you date next does this? That they're honest with you and they're not manipulating you and trying to do something behind your back or trick you. That they're loving to you, and I don't mean have good, gushy feelings, but they do kind things, they're patient with you, they're open about what they're feeling. Don't you want that from the person that you're with? Are you that person in relationships? If you think about how you have dated. Now, I look at my past, and I remember a time when I was not this. And I remember when I changed. And I committed my life to doing relationships right. I committed to God that I was going to do relationships right. And I became honest and loving in my relationships. And what I would ask you to do is to do that. Having a daughter has really changed my whole view on this. She's not near dating. She's only about to be 4. She's got like 30 years at least until dating. But so I know that some point, some guy is gonna come to our house to pick her up on a date, and I was just thinking like, will any guy be good enough for me? And yes, and here's what I would want from the guy that decides to date my daughter, who I love more than I know how to love. And that's this: that even if they break up, she'll be better for having known him. That she'll be closer to Christ, and she won't have regrets moving forward. That she'll be better having known him, that she'll be closer to Christ, and she won't have regrets having forward. So here's my question for you. Do the people that you date, if that relationship ends, will they be better having been in a relationship with you? Will they be closer to Christ because they knew you? And will they have regrets? Will they have things that they have to explain to their spouse someday because they knew you? We should do this right, and we can. So we're going to end tonight with a time of prayer, and this is important to me because some of you have had some people in your life that were not that, and they did use you, and you do have regrets or you do have pain. And I know this, that your Heavenly Father can heal those hurts and work on those wounds and help you to be whole in Him again.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, leave a comment down below or hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.